everyone, I'm Tasha with Butterfield Alpaca Ranch, and welcome to the Butterfield Alpacas and Fiber Arts channel. So in my previous episodes, I was sitting in front of the camera just talking and telling stories, and today might be very similar to that, but I am setting you up for future videos. And I'm really wanting to mix in, life with the alpacas, what we call the alpaca lifestyle, mixing that in with the fiber arts, because that is the very reason that I have alpacas. Now, as I was planning out future topics for videos and starting to shoot some footage and editing some that are going to be coming up, I'm trying to get ahead of the game more this time around. But I realized that I wasn't talking a lot about the fiber arts. Those topics were not easily coming to mind. And it might be because I feel like I've talked about it a lot. I actually have a crochet channel. I'll link that down in the description box below this video and also up in the corner. I think it ends up in this corner. Might be in the, I don't remember. Might be this corner. I don't remember. But you'll be able to find that channel. I've had that for a number of years. I actually do teach crochet classes. So that's how that all got started. But I was a fiber artist first. And so that is my perspective with the alpacas. And I'm wanting to get more into the fiber itself. And the whole idea of this channel in the first place, especially when I started doing the podcast, was to bridge this gap between fiber growers and fiber users. Since I've been on both sides of the gap, and I can teach, or I can speak to both experiences. What I'm wanting to do is offer to the alpaca owner options of making revenue by providing products to fiber users, specifically yarn and roving. And then to the fiber users, I'm wanting to show you what it takes to get those products to you. And why things are priced the way that they are, especially with alpaca. It's a higher end fiber, and the price, that's reflected in the price of yarn and other alpaca products. So I'm wanting to bring some understanding as to why the prices are the way that they are and why they're actually justified. So no matter which side of the bridge you're on, I'm hoping to connect you to the other side. And so in today's video, I'm going to tell you about how I got started with the alpacas in the first place and some changes I've noticed in the industry just in the 5 years that I've been involved, because it's gotten much more fiber focused than when I first got into the industry. While I talk today, I'm going to be crocheting. Thought that would be quite appropriate that I'm actually doing some fiber arts while we talk. So I wanted to show you the hat that I'm almost done with here. All that's left are the buttons. And I showed this to you 2 videos ago. I made this for my friend, and this is going to be the coordinating scarf, in which you can see I'm using post stitches. I got the inspiration from the top of this hat that has the post stitches. It's hard to see because it's a variegated yarn, but for those of you with the trained eye, you can see it. And I'm using those post stitches here to create a rib effect. You can see it's just alternating front and back. Maybe that's better. Alternating front and back post stitches, which is actually one of my favorite crochet stitches. You can do so many things with this, and I just chose to make a cute rib effect with that. So I'm going to be crocheting while we do this. Okay, get myself comfy here. All right, now I'm just going to give you kind of an abbreviated story about how crochet started all of this for me. But I have a much more lengthy video about this story that I will link in whatever corner here that it shows up, but I'll also put the link down in the description box. Just so you know for the future, anything I mentioned or my social media links or anything that's relevant in terms of information, I put all that information down in the description box. So If you're curious about something that I said, I try to link all that down below. You'll be able to find it. Okay, I did just have to plug in my camera there because it was running out of battery power. But my story begins back in 2002 on a day that I was bored and I found myself in an arts and crafts store, and I was going down the yarn aisle and I was just mesmerized by all the textures and the colors, and I was like, okay, I want to work with this. How fun would this be? And I got to choose between knitting or crochet. Now, 2002, that would have been before the days of YouTube, so I had to be self-taught. There was no one around to teach me. I was living in LA at the time. So I got a book to teach me along with all the tools, but I ended up choosing crochet simply because I didn't know what size tools to get, and I could get a whole set for a really good price. A whole set of crochet hooks, I should say. And so that's what I did. And I really took to it. I ended up finding out that I had friends who crocheted as well, so they helped me with some things. But later on, it would have been in 2010. Okay, so fast forward to 2010, and I had a New Year's resolution that I did not want to be crocheting by myself anymore. I had gotten in the habit of just crocheting on the couch in front of the TV, and I wanted to be more social about it. And in looking for a group that I could meet with, I had a hard time finding one that I really fit in or felt welcomed, especially as a crocheter. And so I started my own crochet group, and they still exist today. Some of you might be watching this video, but in the process of finding location for us to meet, I emailed a local yarn store. And for those of you who are not familiar with them, they're specialty stores. They carry natural fibers and types of yarns and brands of yarns that the big box stores just don't. So the big box stores are ones like Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, Walmart, and they carry more man-made fibers for sure than local yarn stores. Like I said, they're more a specialty yarn place. Well, the owner of this one local yarn store that I emailed, she wanted to meet with me, and she was excited to have our group come and spend time there. But the interesting part of the story was that she had just acquired the shop. She had just bought it. She had been an employee, and the previous owner was moving to LA, and so she had the opportunity to buy the store. And the first day that she was in possession of the store was the day that she got my email. Yes, serendipitous, I would certainly say. And what she was mostly interested in was me teaching crochet in her store. She herself was not a crocheter at the time. She now knows how to crochet. But at the time, she wanted to hire me to teach classes. It was the first time I ever did something like that. Even though my degree is in education and pretty much anything I know I teach, at that time I had not taught crochet. So that was a whole nother adventure, but it opened up a whole new world for me. I mean, literally, I can pinpoint any day along this whole story that was super important, and I think the most important was the New Year's resolution of not wanting to crochet by myself, because it led me down a path that puts me in front of this camera in front of you today. None of this would exist. I wouldn't be in Nebraska. I wouldn't have alpacas. None of this would exist if I had not made that New Year's resolution. And I do have a video about that. Forget if it's on this channel or my crochet channel. Yes, I've shared this story before. It might be on the crochet channel, actually. So if it is, I'll link that video specifically. Anyway, By working in this local yarn store, by teaching there, I was exposed to natural fibers. And that was the first time for me with something like that. Prior to that, I'd only worked with yarn from the big box stores, and I didn't really know much about natural fibers. But I was learning about them, and I was learning about the animals that they came from. And when I had the opportunity to meet an alpaca in person, I jumped for it. I went for it. And this happened just a few weeks before I was set to go to South Korea to teach English for a year. Everything was already set. All the paperwork was together. My plane tickets were bought. All the passport stuff was done. My visa stuff was done. I was committed to go. And I go on this family vacation. Since I'm leaving the country, my family took a little trip. And that is where I had the opportunity to visit an alpaca farm. And for the first time, I got to really interact with the animal and learn about them. I left that place that day totally obsessed with alpacas. And I am not one to be obsessed about things. But this was different. It's like something just clicked with me, and I read all the literature I was given, every single thing. I went home and I scoured the internet for more information about alpacas. I visited 4 more alpaca farms and returned to the first alpaca farm to purchase my first alpaca, Joy. All before I was leaving the country. Oh yes, for about 3 weeks I was totally alpaca obsessed. But what that meant is during my free time in Korea, like when I was home, not teaching or not out, I was doing more research and I was making decisions about what my future business was going to be. One of those decisions was moving to Nebraska, where my dad's family is from, to actually raise them. I chose not to do it in Illinois. I'm from Chicago. I grew up there. Being in Illinois was an option, but I chose that was not the right thing for me to do. I chose Nebraska instead. Now, my perspective with owning alpacas is all about the fiber. And I knew when I was visiting that first alpaca farm, I knew about fiber. I knew about yarn. I knew about our little fiber arts world that we have here in the U.S. Worldwide, yes, but I knew specifically about the U.S. one. And I knew that I could be a part of it by creating some awesome yarn, not only for myself, but for other people. For my friends, for people like me who love the fiber arts. So that was my plan. That's what my original business plan was based on. Now, when I first got into the alpaca industry, it felt like a bit of an identity crisis, because 2 years prior was when we had the market crash, 2009, the market crash that was a result of the housing bubble. And it directly affected, well, it affected a lot of things, actually, but it affected the price of alpacas. The price of alpacas dramatically dropped, and for those who had built their business on breeding, multiplying, and then selling off alpacas, specifically babies, they were finding they could no longer make a living doing that. The alpaca industry in the United States was established on the multiplying and selling concept. And it was established on that because we needed the numbers of animals producing fiber in a large enough quantity that we could actually compete on the worldwide stage with the alpaca fiber. I don't fault anybody for starting that. 30 years ago, when alpacas were first brought to the U.S., that was the mentality. And it was on improving the quality of the fiber and multiplying the animals. Nothing wrong with that. But what was going on is people were being sold on the idea of owning alpacas and you'll make a lot of money. Just multiply and breed them, or multiply and sell, multiply and sell. And there was not attention put on the quality of fiber for the purpose of using the fiber. The quality of fiber, the emphasis was put on the ribbons in the show ring. So there were just some pieces missing there, very important pieces. But what that meant is the people that did not have an understanding of the fiber in terms of its use, when they could no longer make a living off of just selling the animals, they were kind of at a loss as to what to do. And that's where this identity crisis came in. You know, 2011 is when I bought my first alpaca. That's 2 years after the market crash, and all the dust was still settling, really, within our industry. So you had people that got out of the industry because they couldn't make money anymore, and some of my alpacas came from situations like that. But those that chose to stay in had to learn about the fiber and kind of change their focus. And I also know of alpaca owners that totally changed up the business model that they were following. And they switched over to the fiber business model. And that's a model in which I started with. So I kind of felt like I fit right in with that. But the whole industry is moving towards that. Now, in reality, alpacas are a fiber animal. They have been for 6,000 years. A very elite, high quality type of fiber. So I feel like the alpaca industry is really getting into a good groove, if you will. Yeah, you have some people that are still kind of balking at the idea of a fiber focus. Here's an example of that whole idea that fiber was not really an acceptable way to go early on, or even, 5 years ago, when it was just starting to be more popular to think of alpacas in terms of the money you can make from the fiber rather than from breeding. And that is, even today, categorizing alpacas, you have your breeding animals, but then you have your fiber/pet animals. So even the mentality that an animal that is only good for fiber, not good for breeding. If they're not good for breeding, they're just good for fiber, and that's just like a throwaway animal. And if you do a search in some of the websites where you can buy alpacas, you can list your alpacas to sell to other people, there is a category fiber/pet. Now a pet, in my mind, is an alpaca that has very low quality fiber. Of course, they're not going to be used for breeding, but they're not producing fiber in which I'm going to make yarn that I'm going to wear next to my skin. So it's kind of, that part kind of frustrates me, to be honest. But the industry as a whole is moving in the direction of fiber as the main focus. And that's exciting. And I think some of this terminology in time will change and evolve along with it. We even have the Alpaca Owners Association, which puts on the shows, the main shows. But they've also put on a fiber conference the last few years. And it's totally being revamped for next year. I think they're even calling it something different, but the concept is changing. It's being expanded, and let's see, no matter which side of that bridge that you're on, there's a place for you at this fiber conference. I'll just say it like that. And it's a very exciting time to be involved in the alpaca industry if you have a passion for the fiber arts. So that's why I'm very excited to be a part of this industry, and I'm really excited that my first intention for buying alpacas is becoming like the thing to do. Isn't that amazing? I don't know. So this is an encouragement to those of you who are fiber artists and are looking to buy alpacas, you are a category that is growing because the prices of alpacas are much more affordable than they used to be. And you have the understanding of the fiber use to be able to make the money from it. So if you just want alpacas for pets, there's certainly ways in which you can be making money so the alpacas pay for themselves, but there's also definite ways in which you could be making a living. Now you have to work hard at it, and you have to be diligent, and you have to have a very specific path that you are following, but it is very possible. Well, I hope that you have found this video helpful and that regardless of which side of the bridge that you are on, that you are reaching over to the other side and learning a bit about that experience as well. And in future videos, I am going to be mixing up topics that relate to raising alpacas, but also related to the fiber and the fiber arts specifically. So I'm very excited about the direction of our channel here. And for each and every one of you that have been a part of it, can I just say, I feel like in every video I'm saying it like a big thank you, but it's so true. There's so many of you that interact with me, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, so much support for what I'm doing here. And I'm curious, what makes this channel interesting to you? Where are you coming from? Are you an alpaca owner? Are you wanting to be an alpaca owner? Are you a fiber artist? Are you just an animal lover? You know, what's your perspective on this when you watch my videos? And it'll help me kind of narrow down some topics and make videos that would really help the most of you. Have a great day, and I will see you on the next video.